brisk fall days. They used to be my favourite time to get out of the house and walk along my local bike paths by the river. Getting to see all the spooky Halloween decorations encompassing people's dwellings until the rows of houses gave way to the more extravagant orange, yellow and red leaves that lined the pathway. It was truly a breathtaking sight. I would always go right after supper so I could burn off my meal while enjoying the serene calmness of nature. Though, the last time I walked that path, like I had done all those times before, my usual peacefulness turned to anxiousness and then into a terror-fueled nightmare. It started like any other night. I walked the city streets, enjoying the skeletons, ghosts, and ghoulish displays, all set up to symbolize that Halloween was right around the corner. As the houses began to fall behind me, I started down the path. I was feeling rather sluggish after my meal and started the walk slowly. It was pretty quiet out, with only a few cyclists flying past, which meant that I had time to stop at a few stops and watch the ducks floating in the sunset with not a care in the world. Trudging deeper along, as the trees grew thicker, there was no one in sight. The sun was beginning to fully set, so I figured half an hour more and I would head back. It was completely night when I began to hear the twigs snap. The only lights, as I looked around my surroundings, were little electric lanterns spaced around 20 feet apart. I picked up my pace, growing a little more nervous with each twig that snapped around me. This kept up for the next 10 minutes as I walked. A twig would snap, and when I would look back, no one there. Well, that was until I saw, for a split second, a blue hoodie duck behind the tree. I broke into a run, fear gripping me at the thought of who would be following me like this. Were they robbers? Or was I going to get murdered with no one around to find me? I could hear pounding footsteps from right behind me as I picked up the pace. My heart was beating rhythmically to near heart attack speed. I must have been faster than them, because by the time I began slowing down, there was no sound of anyone trailing me. I stopped for a minute, just to catch my breath. I must have run a good 5 kilometers. I closed my eyes, rubbing the bridge of my nose at the predicament that I'd just gotten myself into, when suddenly, a small giggle rang out from the tree line. Confused, I looked around, taking a small step closer. My eyes strained at the dimness of the area as I tried to figure out what the hell that was. With everything going on, I decided to say, "Screw this." I turned around to head home. That was the moment that I came face to face with a young girl with long, straight white hair that matched her clean white frilly dress.
Hello, mister.
It took me a second to straighten my thoughts to reply. Hey there. Why are you all the way out here? Are you lost? I crouched down on one knee to get to her height and reassure her that I wasn't dangerous. But she just stood, twisting one foot like she was putting out a cigarette, and she just said,
Just going for a walk. It's a beautiful night.
Are your parents around here? I had to ask. You know, it's dangerous to be walking around here by yourself. There could be some scary people around here.
Oh, I'm okay, mister. I walk around here all the time.
she told me, before saying bye and skipping off back the way I came. I'm not sure why I didn't stop her. Honestly, it could have just been the shock that a child was actually roaming around here, seemingly oblivious to the dangers. Or if it was some weird feeling I had when she talked. Whatever it was, she had disappeared by the time I formed a coherent thought. This night had already gone to hell, so I decided it was time to begin walking back. I took the inside of the tree line, just in case whoever was after me before was still hanging around. I kept vigilant, making sure that I had eyes on the path, but was far enough that the lights never touched me. After about 30 minutes, I started hearing what sounded like a swoosh of air, and then a sort of squelch sound that I could not pinpoint. I froze as the sound kept going. I rattled my brain, trying to think of what could be making that sound. Curiosity, or maybe stupidity, got the best of me, and I began to head towards the sound. I suddenly remembered the little girl and panic clutched my stomach, thinking of what could be happening to her. I broke into a run to make sure she was all right, dodging bushes and trees until I made it to the path and came across a gruesome sight. An iron-rich scent filled my nostrils as I saw parts of a body lay scattered about the blood-soaked path, as if someone had been torn bit by bit. I looked around for any sign of white fabric, praying that it wasn't her that was dead. My eyes found the torso, but it wasn't a white dress, but a tattered, dark blue, blood-stained hoodie. Filled with panic at what could have happened here, I began to run, more scared than I had been all evening. I would only make it 5 steps before I noticed movement out of my peripherals. What I saw stopped me dead in my tracks. The little girl, whose white dress was now dyed red, stood there, holding a sword twice the length of her small body, raised over her head. She brought the weapon down, slicing into another man, cutting his head clear off. As I gasped in disbelief, she turned to me with a blood-soaked, eerie smile, eyes void of color.
These bad men won't be hurting either of us now, mister.
She told me, nonchalantly, as if she had not just butchered these men.
They did ruin my pretty dress, though, so I'm ruining them.
She turned and went back to hacking up her victims. I started running until I got out of the forest. I called the police when I got back home. They found the mutilated bodies, but there was no sign of the girl or her sword. In the time since that day, the police have recovered 5 more bodies in that area. The remains have been identified. It turned out these men were escaped convicts, convicted of doing unspeakable things I will not repeat here. To a little girl in a white dress, one Halloween night.